Greetings, Dr. Joseph Martin here. Stress, important topic. Its causes, its effects on us, and its positive treatments. And this is a compilation, a very simplified introduction to a very obviously complex topic. It's taken me about 45, 50 years with my background in genetics, biochemistry, human physiology, um, microbiology, and certainly my background as a clinician and psychologist, and also as a social cultural anthropologist and historian. So let's take a look at this now. What is stress, and how do we define what stress is? Stress is hardship, adversity, force, pressure, strain, and compression. And let's just focus on compression here. There are laws in the cosmos that deal with astronomy and the creation of stars and galaxies that also deal with ourselves and our own beings as humans. And you'll want to look at my two videos, one on compression, the law of compression in the universe, and the other one, the law of expansion, which is a complementary obverse or result when compression is taken to the extreme. And so I will end this video talking about the valuable aspects of stress, but let's focus on some other things before we get to that. So stress is also defined in human terms, at least. We're not talking about industrial stress and compression in buildings or anything, though that's all part of engineering. We're talking here about the stress within human beings, and it can be defined as spiritual, mental, emotional, physiological, and social relational compression or strain, worry, anxiety, defensiveness on psychological terms, fear, shutdown, and so on. So that's, I'm sure every one of us in this modern global world experience all the levels and different kinds of stress. And there are many kinds of stress. Well, what causes stress? Let's look outside human beings in the external environment. There are lots of things that can cause stress. There are poor quality or toxic elements that we take in, such as toxins and chemicals in the air, in the water that we drink, in the food that we eat, genetically modified foods and so on, which has an effect on our genetics as well. These are some of the things. There are meteorological issues that are tied in with global warming, so high winds and high pressures, tornadoes, tsunamis, and so on. And of course, the heat or the cold and what this does to our being, stressing us out physiologically as well as mentally. Low amounts of sunlight in the wintertime, causing this SAD, sensitivity to lack of sunlight and so on, lack of vitamin D. These are many of the kinds of external things that are beyond human capacities, although we can cause some of these on the planet. In strictly sociological, anthropological terms, there are many stressors that are still outside of we ourselves as individuals. And this can be war, famine, and drought caused by political aspects of military engagements worldwide. And this can be also on political terms, the lack of freedoms that nation states give to the civilians in it, whether it's like proscriptions against women or gays or certain age groups or elders or against particular ethnic groups and ethnic cleansing. These are all human caused, and so we're still looking at the causes here now. So basically we can say it's injustice and lack of personal and social freedoms, the lack of freedom to speak out and be yourself. This is very important, and it does cause a lot of stress in many nations and cultures around the world. Then there are social stresses, and that would be social ranking is a problem in a very hierarchical society like we have now. And I'd like to point out Dr. Robert Sampolsky's All his major work over 30 years in working with baboon troops in East Africa and how he's correlated that to human populations here now. And also in terms of social ranking and the stress it causes those at the bottom of the social ranking, we can look at the Whitehall report in the British Civil Service in the government agencies there. Apart from social ranking and the severe cause of stress in terms of depression and psychiatric and mental illnesses, we can also look at overpopulation. So population genetics and social repercussions of our overpopulation. We know from our studies with baboon troops and macaque monkeys and other kinds of primates very close to ourselves that overpopulation causes severe anger and rage, road rage, and so on, and depression and acting out, and so on. Of course, a lot of homicides worldwide. Now, if we look then now internally to what causes stress inside an individual, you could say that it's living in a box, that your mental consciousness is in a dysfunctional state. It's from an early stage of development as a baby, or maybe it was passed on by your family, and that it didn't relate to who you were as a person. And this closed little mental box of consciousness is extremely dysfunctional, causes great strain and tension, and certainly depression. And another aspect of the internalization of stress is that one does not feel connected to Source or God, the Creator, or the cosmos. And this is a sign of a very materialistic time on the planet in the early 21st century. There are many other aspects internally. We can look at biochemistry and diet and genetics and all these things, and we can as well. But we're still looking for causes here. And, you know, causes can be internally when you accept somebody else's dominion or control or domination over yourself. And that's when you accept being a victim and have a victim mentality, whether it's a cultural thing imposed by a world religion or some ideology that is dysfunctional and sort of inappropriate and certainly not conducive to personal freedom. So it's a felt lack of freedom emotionally, mentally, spiritually, and in terms of just being yourself and being a unique individual in the world. And we can see that the result is most people these days feel like they're zombies, and they feel like their power is taken away from them. Other social aspects that cause stress are obviously bullying, physical, sexual, emotional, spiritual abuse, and so on. And it's all about having your power taken away from you, where you feel like there's nothing you can do to change this. Well, that's not true, but you might feel that way or think that way. This will cause incredible stress. Well, what are the effects of all these external, non-human and human causes, and also internal human causes that we've just bought into something that is not true to ourselves and not authentic? What are the effects of this? Well, we know that there are many. Some of them are you lose brain cells and you're not able to think or create or have a good memory. You lose your memory, and of course we're pointing out the statistics increasingly of Alzheimer's worldwide at younger ages, even in their 40s and 50s. There's belly fat, which is also a physiological effect of all kinds of stress, some of them of which we've mentioned. There are others that I have not yet mentioned. That will be in further videos. There are other effects that are anger and rage, road rage. There's depression and mental illness and psychiatric illnesses. There are aspects of, on a genetic level, of telomeres, which create longevity within the DNA structure, that the telomeres are not present, or the telomerase, which is the enzyme that creates telomeres that keep the strength and the length of DNA strong. And Dr. Elizabeth Blackburn at UC San Francisco has done great research on this as well. So it has genetic effects. It creates genetic splitting in the DNA, and it also has the effect then of shortening the length of life, the longevity of your life. We know it causes suppression of the immune system to fight off all kinds of illness, and therefore, even including something even more severe, the rapid increase in the last 30 years in people worldwide of autoimmune illnesses, where we seem to be attacking ourselves on a biological, biochemical level. And that points to another psychological, mental, emotional consideration, which I deem perhaps to be the key to all this: lack of self confidence and lack of self worth. And that's why we have our online training program, self help program, IamSelfworth.com. It's soon to be released. And when you are seriously feeling the effects of all of these kinds of stresses in your life, you can certainly agree with myself that low self-confidence and low self-esteem leads to all kinds of addictive behaviors and patterns and thinking and feeling, and also just an inability to achieve all you can achieve in your life and to do anything powerfully creative and authentic for yourself. So now there are other results that we can say that stress takes over our body and creates adrenaline and epinephrine, which is kind of like the fight-flight response on a biochemical, neurohormonal level, and also increases the level of glucocorticoids or cortisol in the body and in the blood, which relates to the stress and blood pressure and the dilation or contraction of the blood vessel, particularly the arteries. Some of the other effects, of course, we know to all these kinds of stress is increased plaque in the arteries, which occludes or blocks the flow of blood and raises high blood pressure, both in the heart and the arteries around the heart, and has been giving the effect of increasing heart attacks worldwide, which is now one of the major causes of death and ongoing illness in the world, in people and individuals. These are still some of the effects that we know and we've done scientific research on. Now, just on a psychological level, though, which is another important focus, we can say that beyond the lack of self-worth and self-confidence, there's an increasing amount, of course, anger, but hidden underneath the anger and the anxiety and the worry and the sadness and the pondering of all this are just unconscious, buried fears, deep-seated fears, individually and collectively, like what is going to happen to me and what is going to happen to the world. We're wondering, aren't we, what's going to transpire, and we feel helpless in a way to even be part of the solution. We just kind of fall into that depression and throw our hands up and go sit on the couch. Part of all these videos, and there are many more you might want to check out on our YouTube channel, these are the aspects of what's going on, what are the causes of all these issues, and what are the benefits of finding some self-resolve to do some treatments for yourself, take some self-responsibility. Now, on a sociological, anthropological level, what does this do to our relationships? Well, if you're in a hierarchy of social ranking, whatever job you're in, then it's going to create huge amounts of anger and rage and sense of low self-worth, which you have to bury and stuff unless, and of course, unfortunately, some people do explode and kill other people on the job sites, especially when they've lost a job or lost a job improvement into a higher ranking. But more than that, people suffer immensely at work because they feel they're dissed or disrespected, and that there's no chance in a competitive work world or even a personal world to have any meaningful, intimate, open-ended, vulnerable, emotionally supportive relationships. So what it does is it tends to isolate people and stop them from reaching out or being accepting someone else who's reaching out to them, so that they feel closed in more and more into these iron bubbles inside. And we know that the greatest mental health illness on the planet is loneliness. So loneliness, depression, emptiness, boredom. But it's worse than that because human beings, Homo sapiens, are social animals. And to not have any true, real friends that can be loyal and trusting, or just no one to talk to and no one to listen to them, this is the severest thing. And so the levels of suicide are an important statistic to look at. There are solutions and treatments to all these things, and that's what we're going to focus on. It's a little bit now, but in future videos and in the program of I Am Self-Worth. What are some of the solutions and treatments to this? Well, obviously, meditation and yoga is one, but it has to be the deepest and the greatest and the most powerful sustaining yoga and meditation that's been done for thousands of years. And so we are offering the I Am Yoga program, which is a compilation of dozens of ancient and postmodern yogas that deal with the spiritual, mental, emotional, physiological, biochemical, and relational aspects of yoga. But primarily, as Carl Jung says, the greatest issue in midlife or any time in life is a lack of a spiritual connection to the source, to all that is, and to your own sense of self, which most people don't even know quite yet. And that's why we're offering these videos. And so meditation is to reconnect and realign with the source of all that is. And this is a spiritual and energetic and experienceable, kinesthetic feeling and sensation and emotional mental consciousness taking you to a higher super consciousness. This is actually one of the best treatments I've found in my 40 years or more of doing clinical work with thousands of people and workshop attendees. Beyond this, of course, there are other things which would be speaking up and finding your voice and your soul and taking charge of your life and being a victor instead of a victim, and also to perhaps rethink the whole kind of job you have and find a career that's more sustainable, equitable, and more just, where you're more co-creative and in charge of your daily experiences. That's another thing as well, obviously. The antidotes and treatments can also be just be out in nature and reconnect with nature and all our relations, the minerals, the plants, the trees, the animals, the birds, and so on. Just be there and observe and feel it is the first step, but then start to feel subjectively involved in the experience of nature and be one again with nature. This is a great cure for people who've been boxed up in little cubby holes in big concrete and glass buildings. Also, you can say that just walk out in nature is important, but it's a new way of relating to yourself to realize that stress, this compression you're feeling, is just a symptom, a wake-up call for you to expand your consciousness, to expand your knowledge base. And this is the knowledge era. So knowledge is the key for you. Learn, train, read, watch educational videos or television, and skip the rest of it that's not even going to give you the knowledge that you need to get out of the strain and the stress and the tension and worry. This is just a wake-up call to find something deeper, higher, better, and greater in this spiritual Olympics that you're engaging upon now. Also, you can say that, it is a question of spiritual and moral or ethical justice, equality, kindness, compassion, and giving. In the Sacred Economy video that I just put up online a few days ago, you'll see that the way to get over the hierarchical present social, economic, political system is for all of us, has to start with the individual, to embrace something that's different. And the law of giving is the way that you're going to be happy, and it will resolve a lot of the stress in your life. It will help you feel good about what you're doing and participating and giving back to other people and the environment or through charities, but it's better if it's one-on-one. It will help you get out of that loneliness and that kind of little iron bubble you're in and just move and break free, be in charge, be supporting other people, just giving to them. This will be also part of the new economy, but basically It's part of the new spirituality and the new psychology to be doing this with fairness and respect and kindness and compassion. It's the way of the Buddha, it's the way of Jesus and the Christ consciousness, and it is the way of the future. And the sooner you get involved with it and start to train and express and experience and give in this way, the sooner you get out of those little mental ego boxes and start thinking about other people and how you're connected with them and what you can share and give and do for them, that will be the key to releasing a lot of the stress from the political, the social, the economic, and the spiritual, but also the psychological, and even down to the biochemical and genetic side. It will release your stress because there's a lot of neurophysiological plasticity, and when you start giving, your whole body materiality can change. So giving is the key here, but first give to yourself and learn and embody this new knowledge and this great, deep, high, ongoing flow of connection to Source in your own heart. And it all starts and continues in your heart, because giving comes from the heart. So to quote a great kind of dystopic novel, Brave New World, we can say that what you individually and what all of us globally now in this new consciousness are creating is a brave, new, authentic human species and world. Dr. Joseph Martin, stay tuned. There will be further videos on this very important topic and what you can do for yourselves. All blessings and love.